How's it going, Pete?
Good, thank you. Mayor, can you tell us a little bit about council tonight and the decision that was rendered on behalf of the encampment?
Of course. Well, it wasn't so much a decision on behalf of the encampment. It was actually a staff report that was put forward by our legislative services. There's some miscommunication and misinformation being passed around the media. In this report, it details everything that has happened. One of the most important parts that I'd like to read out is that it should be noted that since the beginning of events, that's the event when we first found out about the encampment, that have taken place at the West Beach area, there has been, quote, no decisions made in relation to the encampment by council. Please, until today, council has not made any decisions either pro or against the encampment, until today. And today's decision is to enforce our bylaws. That's the decision of the council. It was a unanimous decision today to enforce our bylaws. I'm actually going to read the resolution so that everyone has that on file. That council received the staff report for information purposes. Again, this report is fully available to the public. Further, that council approve the recommended amendments to the Town of Cobourg Parks bylaw as presented, and further, that council endorse the regular enforcement of the current Town of Cobourg bylaws and the authority provided to the town under the provisions of the Municipal Act 2001 to benefit the lawful shared use and enjoyment of the public space and safety to all residents of Cobourg. Pete, I have to be very clear on this. No one in this council, no one on this town staff is happy to see people in encampments. This is a heartbreaking situation for the residents down there. It's a heartbreaking situation for all residents of Cobourg to see people in distress and clearly vulnerable and in need. That is not what we're deciding. This council is not here to condemn people for surviving. This council is here to look out for the best interests of the community at large. And what this council did tonight is we voted unanimously to enforce the bylaws of Cobourg. I need everyone in the public to understand our job here at council is to make the best decision possible with the best information possible. And while many in the community of Cobourg, whether they're for or against encampments, wanted a decision made faster, I've learned that fast decisions aren't always the best ones. And instead, sometimes it takes time, patience, and work to dig out the information. And in this case, we've had staff working day and night over the last 7 to 12 days, meetings on top of meetings with police, with bylaw, with county, with the province, all regarding this situation. And what our staff has done is gather all of the relevant information and report it to us, and then make the best recommendation possible they can to this council. And council has unanimously supported that, which is again, to endorse the regular enforcement of the current Town of Cobourg bylaws.
When this first began, Waterloo was raised, and I'll raise it again. What's different about this than Waterloo?
Again, Pete, I am in no way, shape, or form a legal professional. We've been consulting with legal professionals. The Waterloo ruling was with an upper tier level of government. We are a lower tier. And so what we've done is we've ascertained that potentially that ruling may or may not have anything to do with us. This council is not here to weigh in on what might or might not happen down the road. Instead, what we decided tonight is to enforce our bylaws and to direct staff to enforce our bylaws. And that goes for our bylaws across this town, whether it's the West Beach encampment, whether it's a tent behind Henley Arcade, you name it. This council has unanimously supported our bylaw staff enforcing our bylaws. With the Waterloo decision, if at some point that comes into play, that'll be up for legal professionals to debate. However, that was an upper tier level of government, and what that means is the Waterloo ruling is a little different than us, because in the Waterloo situation, they are both the service provider and the group that was evicting. In Cobourg, we have a different situation. We have a lower tier municipality, the Town of Cobourg, and an upper tier municipality, the county. And as that division, it makes it slightly different of a situation than the Waterloo ruling. Part and parcel of this last little bit of time has been for council and for staff to understand the implications. No one on staff is a legal professional. No one on council is a legal professional. And it takes time and dedicated effort to get the information and gather. And to be honest, we've had several staff members spend their entire vacation last week doing nothing but working 12 and 14-hour days in order to prepare the staff report because of how important this is to this council and to this town. None of our council, myself included, is ignorant to the conversations being had in the community. No one is unaware of the vitriol being thrown around by both sides of this argument. What I am asking the community at large to do is to take a deep breath, to understand that this situation of homelessness, drug addiction, poverty, taking care of our neighbors is not alone in Cobourg. This is a situation that streams all the way from Victoria to Halifax and every community in between. And we here at Cobourg are doing what we can to enforce our bylaws while legally being allowed to do so. And I just want the community as a whole to realize that there is no silver bullet. There is no immediate solution to this problem, and that just through the enforcement of bylaws, it's not going to make anything go away. We have to work with our county counterparts, we have to work with the provincial counterparts, all of our relative community groups and agencies, and we have to start addressing these problems one at a time over the next several years.
As far as you know, is this precedent setting?
Precedent setting, I can't speak to that. I know that the technique and the approach with which Cobourg Council is taking is a unique solution. And I want to be very clear. There is a bylaw that has been passed to permit or to allow the county to issue permits to parks should an emergency situation present itself. That is part and parcel of this resolution, and I just want to be very clear. It's not that Cobourg is in any way, shape, or form abdicating responsibility up to the county. It's simply allowing the county, who is responsible for social service delivery, to have at their disposal more tools with which to do their job.
And forgive me on this because it's, as we said, it's been quick and it's fast and forthcoming what happened. But so does that mean that the county could issue passes for people to set up in parks in various locations throughout the county, including Cobourg?
No, it would only be in Cobourg because, again, it's only Cobourg that has basically passed that right up to the county. So other municipalities could choose to do so. Further, I want to make sure that this isn't precedent setting. Say there was an emergency tomorrow, Pete, and we had to have a center for people to go to. It would go to the CCC. The thing that people may not realize is because if it was a social service delivery emergency, it would actually be the county that would be responsible for overseeing the operations at the CCC. They would actually take over the building. They would be responsible for providing staff and services, etc. This is just following that same mandate. The difference is instead of an emergency situation that would say require the CCC, if an emergency situation came out with housing and we were unable to house, it would allow the county the opportunity, should they choose to take it, to issue permits within the city of Cobourg. But again, I want to be very clear, that means the responsibility for those encampments would be that of the county. They would be responsible for providing the services, for ensuring the bylaws are respected. Again, what we're doing here is we're separating what is Cobourg's responsibility and what is the county's responsibility.
Last question, and I believe it said in the report, 72-hour notice goes out shortly?
Well, I would like you to also point out that it's not just 72 hours. There is a point, and I'm just going to read that point in the report, Pete. A period of time suitable to the circumstances is provided to vacate the site. This may depend on the complexity of the encampment, the number of persons, and weather conditions. However, a period of 72 hours is commonly provided if there is serious health, safety, or criminal activity circumstances. This may warrant lesser time or immediate removal. Depending on the response, additional enforcement, such as police services, may be required, depending on the situation. All events and situations are looked at separately and dealt with through a detailed strategy. That is the point on this, Pete, and that's one I want to make sure we leave this interview on. This council and this staff are not going to make knee-jerk reactions, despite what the community may wish us to do. That's not what good leadership is. What good leadership is doing your due diligence to ensure you have all relevant information, that you build a strategy with that relevant information, and that you strategically move forward on that strategy. I can't speak to the next steps because at this point, that'll be a procedural matter, again, falling on staff. Several questions were asked about that, and again, staff says, well, we will advise as the situation develops. I can't speak to what's going to happen at the West Beach or with anything else because, again, that's going to fall to staff. But what I can tell you is that this council has unanimously approved the enactment of bylaws and to enforce those bylaws.